8 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Mi gente, por ahí andan las noticias que según quieren deportar a toda la raza trabajadora y les hicimos este corrido, compa Kevin.
Para que le pongan oído, dice más o menos así, compadre. Años tengo trabajando de este lado, buscando el mentado sueño americano.
Los gringos aquí ya no nos quieren, que según les estorbamos.
Se menciona mucho en los noticieros, traen muchos mitotesos del gobierno.
Resulta ya quieren deportarme, en eso no estamos de acuerdo.
Resulta que por ser inmigrante mi valor es insignificante. Si supieran lo que batallamos para salir adelante.
Ya con día salimos a chambear, no creo que a nadie le hagamos mal. Ya quisiera verlos trabajando como lo hace este ilegal. ¿Y qué culpa tenemos nosotros los inmigrantes por querer buscar nuestros sueños? ¡Ánimo, mi gente! Y no se me rajen.
Y así suenan los de la norte, compa Jesús Méndez. Puro elegante récord, mi viejo. ¡Ay, ay, ay!
Unos días no duermo y otros como mal, pa' que a mi familia nada le pueda faltar.
Se murió mi madre y a mi padre, espero volverlo a mirar.
Canto por mi gente, no se vayan a agüitar, que Diosito es grande y de esta ley nos va a salvar.
No más acuérdense de Florida, nos volvieron a ocupar.
Resulta que por ser inmigrante mi valor es insignificante. Si supieran lo que hemos sufrido para salir adelante.
Día con día salimos a chambear, no creo que a nadie le hagamos mal. Ya quisiera verlos trabajando como lo hace este ilegal.
I ain't need a might. Will I burn just 'cause I'm white? Am I the heathen thou shalt smite? I thought I was safe inside the crowd. Even if I bleed a might, I know I'm safe through faith in Christ. God, I ain't need a might. Think about love, these I've hated. That means if you look like me, you won't make it. God so loved the world that whosoever except for you minimize. If you believe on Jesus Christ, well, I mean, my unless you already know mine. Am I in need of mine? Am I in need of?
Estamos aquí, oye, que estamos aquí. Mírame, estamos aquí. Desde hace rato, cuando ustedes llegaron, ya estaban las huellas de nuestros zapatos. Se robaron hasta la comida de gato y todavía se están lamiendo el plato. Bien encabronados con estos ingratos. Hoy le doy duro a los tambores hasta que me acusen de maltrato. Si no entiendes el dato, pues te lo tiro en cumbia, bossa nova, tango o vallenato. A lo calaboy y bambú, bien frontú, con sangre caliente como Timbuktu. Estamos dentro del menú. Tupac se llama Tupac por Tupac Amaru del Perú. América no es solo USA, papá. Esto es desde Tierra del Fuego hasta Canadá. Hay que ser bien bruto, bien hueco. Es como decir que África es solo Marruecos. Estos canallas se les olvidó que el calendario que usan se lo inventaron los mayas con la Valdivia precolombina. Desde hace tiempo, este continente camina, pero ni con toda la marina esquina pueden sacar de la vitrina la peste campesina. Esto va para el capataz de la empresa. El machete no es solo para cortar caña, también es para cortar cabeza.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerde. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerde. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. 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 Te muerde, te muerde.
Los paramilitares, las guerrillas, los hijos del conflicto, las pandillas, las listas negras, los falsos positivos, los periodistas asesinados, los desaparecidos, los narcogobiernos, todos los que robaron, los que se manifiestan y los que se olvidaron, las persecuciones, los golpes de estado, el país en quiebra, los exiliados, el peso devaluado, el tráfico de droga, los carteles, las invasiones, los emigrantes sin papeles, 5 presidentes en 11 días, disparo a quemarropa por parte de la policía, más de 100 años de tortura, la nova trova cantando en plena dictadura. Somos la sangre que sopla la presión atmosférica. Gambino, mi hermano, esto sí es América.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerde. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerde. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. 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 Te muerde, te muerde.
Viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
I think it's working. What a horrible way to start the session. And man, still doing that. What's going on? Anyhow, what up, fam? Hope y'all doing well. Forgive me for the issues that I had. I guess at first, I tried to start this almost at 8:15. I turned on one link. Give me a second. Anyhow, it's like there's somehow for some reason, man, like things is getting in the way of getting this session going. First, a video. I started the link, and apparently the link didn't go live. I didn't know that until maybe 10 minutes in, or 15, give or take. Whatever. You know what? Long story, make it short. It was not an easy way to start this today. So, with all that being said, saludos, buenas noches, buenos dias, buenas tardes for you that are watching abroad. Hopefully you catch this class later on, okay? And let's begin, man. This is part 2, technically chapter 2, I guess you could say. Technically. Chapter 2. That's where we're going to stop, I think. But ESAU have I hated. The scriptures talk a lot about
I think we need to
the demise of a nation. And again, I'm not here to put an emphasis on one side of politics or the other. What I am here to do is to show pretty much the perspective of each. Now, here's the interesting thing that happened today. Me personally, I've never seen this. Now, I know that ICE is supposed to arrest people based on immigration situations. Not that you can just randomly arrest people, right? No, not at all. Let's get to... I'm going to kind of let it play a little bit and then let this lady speak to show you, in case you guys missed it. Interesting stuff. Let's begin.
To remember why those members of Congress were there. They were there to exercise their power of oversight. I'm eager to hear from her next guest. Let's bring her in.
So remember, keep in mind, they were exercising their power of oversight, meaning that their position allows them to, keep an eye on particular buildings, so to speak, right? They have the right to walk in there. That's what it seems to be. All right, let's go.
Democratic Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman of New Jersey. She is currently outside of that ICE detention facility.
Congresswoman, you are still on the scene. Can you just tell us what you know now at this point? What has transpired since Mayor Baraka has been arrested? And while you're talking, we might also throw on the screen the video.
So a mayor named Baraka got arrested. He was protesting because I guess he wasn't being allowed to walk in. I don't know the whole story, but this just transpired today. It's going to take some more information to evolve, but this just happened today about maybe 8, 9, 10 hours ago.
The B-roll of the moment where you all surrounded the mayor so our viewers can see it.
Thanks, Simone. Thank you for having us, and most assuredly, thank you for making this information available to millions of people in our country, because you're absolutely right. Our rights are being taken away. And if they can do what they did to Mayor Baraka, and if they do what they did to the three of us, LaMonica, Rob, and me, then they can do it to anybody. And they are doing it to anybody and everybody. First of all, we're at a different site right now. This is not the site of the detention facility where we were trying to conduct an oversight interview and look at the facility. It's something that Rob and LaMonica and I had facility. They don't have all the access that they are entitled to, but they're kind of gearing up.
So you get I guess you could say the gist of things, right? I don't like that it's playing commercials. I don't pay for the monthly, so, they get me with commercials. I don't have that luxury like other channels do. You know what I mean? Like I don't, no, I don't get donations. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
We waited for over an hour to be addressed by ICE, even though we had the authority to be there, even though we only wanted to make a tour. While we were in the waiting area, all of the ICE officials from the state of New Jersey at the highest levels came to the detention facility, and we thought it was to resolve our issue of taking the tour. So they came, they said hello, and the next thing we saw, they ran outside. We went outside and we saw that the mayor was there. And the mayor was talking to them, to some of the ICE employees. He was invited inside of the gate to have the conversation. When we all got down there to the end, they told him that he had to go back into the public area where the protesters were. And he willingly, quietly, and respectfully did as they asked. While he was there, we were walking back to the holding facility thinking that we were going to have our interview and do our tour. But we noticed that ICE and officials were huddling and having a discussion. So we decided that we were going to kind of wait and see what was going on. They were talking to people on the phone. Now, mind you, all of the ICE leadership in the state of New Jersey was at that facility, but they were on the phone with someone. And we finally heard, okay, we're going to arrest the mayor. To which we said, why are you arresting the mayor? The mayor is not on your property. The mayor is.
I don't want to let that go too far. But do you see the? I mean, first of all, man, if you guys think that, and again, you know, it was said many times. You keep ignoring the fact that they're going to be against so-called indigenous people like me, right? That shit's gonna fly on you too eventually. I've been saying about collateral damage. You know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, you know, what is there to expect? Biblically speaking, when you look at what scriptures are saying, it says, Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Right? Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. This is when you see the spirit of people just become extremely freaking wicked, man. And quite frankly, you know, you got to be mindful of what. Okay, for example, they're talking about expanding and going to the Greenland. Why? Because of the resources. They supposedly struck a deal, or trying to strike a deal with Ukraine because of the resources. Matter of fact, look at this right here. I don't know if you guys know this, and I'm not going to play it. I'll just read it to you. It's Rubio threatens Africa with mafia-like protection bracket. That's something to look up to, man. Like look into. And again, I don't know what the deal is with the people over there, but you know what? That's when you corner the beast or a predator, he will do the unthinkable. Now, in this channel, what we do is that we also question a lot of doctrines that these individuals also stand by. And the nerve of them to come and tell us what we should not, or what we should know or not know, and look here, don't look there. Now, family, we've dealt with Christianity for so long. You know what I'm saying? If there's any nation in the world that has dealt with Christianity, it's us. Because in case you don't know, here, I'll show you, man. You know, because in this channel, we prove all things. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it. Yes, that's it. Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids. Make sure you can get that book. It's still pretty inexpensive. But pay attention to this, okay? Oh, hey, oh, what up, man? Hey, experto! Oh, my bad. No, I'm not saying that to you, bro. Like, fuck that. Hey, what up, bro? I always have them on the wrong buttons because I was gonna do this.
Concepts of a plan.
Hold
I
on.
have concepts of a plan.
It's like Christians.
I have concepts of a plan.
I have concepts of the verse. Anyhow, no, seriously. On the serious note, good to have you here, brothers. It says here, as land was stolen from the natives. Now, this is again from Mysteries of Mexico or Mexican Pyramids, page 16. As land was stolen from the natives, great famine ensued, yet heavy taxes were laid on Indians. Those who failed to pay were tortured to death. Okay? You hear that? Tortured to death. Indians who refused to join the Catholic Church were horsewhipped and had their heads shaved and were forbidden to hold office or title in their villages. This is why I bring you guys a lot of history that identifies individual people and nations within, right, that had superiority over us, even in those particular positions of priesthood, for example. For failing to attend mass or for practicing any old riots, an Indian could receive 100 lashes. Now, we've seen movies. It could be worse than that, fam. You know what I'm saying? They tried everything they could just to see pain. This is wicked shit. But now, here's the point. According to the Spaniards, Indians were supposed to only know Our Father, Ave Maria, Credo, and 10 Commandments. Reading and writing were considered as dangerous as the devil. Like I said, when you look at 1492 and on, a lot of us know this. That means that our ancestors were taught this. So if you guys are out there claiming to be us, how come you don't have this history within you? That would be the most obvious. Because nobody wants to take over curses. They might take over your personality, but they don't want to take curses. Check this out. This is interesting. We're going to go to hold on, let me see. Let me get to the point. Check this out, family. I think it's around right here. Check this out, all right? So this guy here, mega pastor, endorsed by Trump Jr., then charged with unthinkable crimes. Okay? Let's continue.
File sing.
Thanking God that you're still breathing, hearing a newborn baby cry, like raising your hands.
The man you just saw in that video was 29-year-old youth pastor Zachary Radcliffe. Before his arrest, Zachary was very active and outspoken in the political world, and he was deeply involved in his church. But as it turns out, Zachary was a hardcore pedophile. Zachary was arrested last year after authorities were given a tip. And when they investigated him, what they found was nothing short of disturbing. Since at least 2011, Zachary had been molesting children whose ages ranged from 12 to 17 years old. He had also been soliciting these children to have them send him abusive material. And while all this was going on, he was playing for large crowds and hanging out with the political elite. So Zachary was finally arrested in October of 2024, and in 2025, this is what the judge presiding over his case had to say. I don't say this lightly at all, not how I operate my life, and certainly not how I operate as a judge, but in my 25 so plus years, I've seen a lot. This ranks up with one of the most egregious predators I have ever seen as it regards individuals. Thankfully, I think Zachary's going to be in prison for a long time, but it always seems like these groups, like youth groups at churches, attract the worst of the worst from society. For a guy like Zachary, he might have seen an open buffet.
The worst case.
That right there should tell you exactly what Christianity can do for you. I'm just saying. Now, remember the topic though, before we forget. All right, so let me show you this real quick. Let me take you guys back to a little bit of history. Just a little bit of history. Just kind of a little history, man. Just to kind of give you an idea and a visual of certain people. Okay. All right. Check this out. All right, let's listen to this real quick.
We're out of range.
I can see that.
I believe they're waiting for an invitation. Boys, Tristan.
We're far out of range.
See that right there? Shouts in Saxon. Okay? I know it's just a snapshot of something. I'm trying to, again, continue the vein. Because the vein is important. How else do we know who people are, according to the book? Do we just assume, or do we do a little digging? Saxon blood runs pure. Okay, so keep that name in mind and the way, the mentality of the people that we supposedly dealing with. Continue.
Don't touch their women. We don't mix with these people. What kind of offspring do you think that would yield? Weak people. Elf people. Will not have our Saxon blood watered down by mixing with them.
See that? Once again. So in here we see, the mentality. And now let's consider something real quick, because I'm going to show you a video next. And I know I'm showing you a lot of videos initially, but it's just, I like to show y'all some stuff. And I apologize for starting so late. Again, I had issues initially about 15 minutes in and the sound and blah, blah, blah. And then 10 minutes prior to that, or 15 minutes prior to that, I had started a live, but that link didn't turn on YouTube. It was just whack. All right, so my bad. So if you guys are here, appreciate y'all. Stick around. I'm going to try to show you some stuff. So here we see war between these people.
Archers are ready, sire.
Not the archers. My Scots tell me their archers are miles away and no threat to us. Arrows cost money. Use up the Irish. The dead cost nothing.
See that? Scottish, and he says, use up the Irish. It costs nothing. I'm trying to set a, so to speak, an idea of why this nation of people have become who they are, and how the scriptures are going to, in a sense, give us an idea of how they've become. And then I'm going to show you some books that they themselves say that that's who they are. So I mean, come on, man. They're telling you what the fuck. Excuse my language, but what the fuck are you supposed to do? Not believe them? Let's continue.
And send in the infantry and cavalry.
Infantry! 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 Come on!
You get the gist of it. I don't want YouTube to block my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you see this war between them. Now, I will say this to you. Okay? I have, in my walk, have questioned what I've learned in every way, shape, and form. I did not go into these things with a dull forehead, assuming, yes, just because supposedly I have this inner hate towards anything or anybody. I really don't, fam. I didn't have that. I had the experience like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in Oceanside, and it was racism, but at least in the school or the area that I went to, we were just, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really go out of there much. So it's like the only way I would get being racist towards was in school, and I was hardly ever there. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like Oceanside was a different mixture, man. And back in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was pretty bad over there. So I can't say, oh, I hate this. You know what I mean? It's not about that. When I started studying and started realizing who we are according to the Bible, and I realized what the scriptures are actually asking me to be towards my brethren, and to point out particular facts about this book, because technically it's our book. And it's been translated and transliterated in so many different ugly, horrible ways that it's our job to discern exactly what it is saying with facts, not assumptions, not feelings. Now, I do know one thing, whether you go back in the Old or in the New, or in the Apocrypha, there is one thing very clear to us. That's Romans chapter 9, verse 22. Okay? Everybody knows this, no matter what religion or faith you are sliding towards. Romans 9:22. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering, the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. Now, endured with much long suffering. Let's kind of flip this a little backwards here. What is he talking about? Meaning the pain that he had to put the children of the Most High have to go through, right? He allowed certain people to do what they've done. Like, I don't like that you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? But he has. Now, when you go back to, for example, Psalms 50, right? This is exactly why he says these things. Because again, there are people, nations that have knowledge, but it's through wicked spirit power. It says Psalms 50:16, but unto the wicked God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take it my covenant in thy mouth. Meaning, what are you doing with my word, with my laws, with my understanding, with what I gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Right? Seeing thou hate instructions and casteth my words behind thee, meaning like you pick and choose what you want to believe out of this wonderful work that I've given to them. But again, he allows things to become, right? Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is, matter of fact, I just remembered the seeing thou hated instructions and casteth my words behind thee. Let me introduce you. I just remembered, man. Let me introduce you to this book that I have. And it's called The Life. Damn, I can't really remember it. I haven't brought this book out in a while. The Life and Times of Constantine the Great. Okay? So this is the book right here. Right? Oh, no, that's not. I thought I had the cover. Yeah, here goes the cover. Here's the cover of the book. Okay? The First Christian Emperor. The Life and Times of Constantine the Great. Okay? We're going to read this page right here. And this is exactly what it's talking about, man. Because, quite frankly, scriptures don't lie. They don't lie. Seeing thou hated instructions and casteth my word behind thee, meaning I pick and choose what I want to hear. I pick and choose what I want to teach. I pick and choose what I want to believe, right? Page 152 of the book I just showed you. It says here, the results of Paul's teachings. This is why you hear a lot of people come to this channel like, oh, well, Paul this and Paul that. Super Christians. Or you got BHIs who don't understand exactly what Paul is talking about. You can't pick and choose what you want to believe of the book. You got to take it all in. All of it. I have a question for you Christians at the end of the show. Wait, what up, Chicloso? I know you're still watching. The results of Paul's teaching is not what happened to Paul's personally that it's important, but rather what happened to Paul's teachings. You see this? So again, it's it's not important really what happened with Paul personally, right? But actually what happened to Paul's teachings. What happened to Paul's teachings? As a matter of fact, if I can recall, if it just came to mind, please let me not forget. 1 Peter, hold on a second. Okay, I think hard to be understood. Okay, first, 2 Peter. I was at first, not first, second. 2 Peter 3:16. Also, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, that's what it means, as do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction. Let me simplify it for you. Paul talks about these same things in all his letters. but parts of what he says is hard to understand. You see that shit? Excuse my language. Some ignorant and unstudied people. You see, when I told you, brothers, man, I've told you guys, if you're not rooted, if you don't have a blueprint, specifically what you believe in of who you are, this is what happens to you. You dance with the wind of wickedness. Paul talks about these same things in all his letters, but part of what he says, it's hard to understand. Some ignorant and unsteady people, meaning in the mind and the spirit, obviously for sure. If the mind is wicked, the spirit is weak. And unsteady people even destroy themselves by twisting what he said. You see that? You see that, family? Hey, come on, wrong one, bro. What are you doing over there? You have that, man. Come on. By twisting what he said, they do the same thing with other scriptures too. Oh, man. Here we go. It says here, let's start from the top again. It is not what happened to Paul personally that is important, but rather what happened to Paul's teachings. Even while he lived, ample evidence proves, you see this? That the people to whom he preached had misunderstood him. You understand that now? He had spoken in terms of high and noble idealism, of charity, of personal righteousness. Now, remember what the word righteousness means. It means the actually walking the will of the Most High through his commandments. He urged men to believe in the Meshiach firmly. And you see this? He urged men to believe in the Meshiach firmly. Some of you guys come over here and try to tell me that Paul is the demon. And matter of fact, this is why 2 Peter 3:16 says, bro, y'all are unsteady and your spirit is weak. He urged men to believe in the Meshiach firmly, and believing in so perfect an example of godly living, meaning keeping the laws, excluding the sacrificial, being to lead a godly life themselves. Such righteous people could have no difficulty in meeting the awful day of God's judgment. Why so? They would surely survive it. And when the day of resurrection came, let me go to page 153, same book, people would surely be permitted to live again and forever. But most of the people who listened to Paul remembered only the connection between believing in the Mashiach and meriting God's mercy and ultimate resurrection. Oh, John 3:16, by faith, brother, I can keep sinning. They skipped the middle step, the need to live godly lives. Y'all are very happily celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, you know what I mean? I understand that if you actually don't do that, and sometimes you're around people that do that for the sake of keeping things at peace to some extent, right? I get it. But if you are there like, yeah, I'm gonna cook that shit up, bro, eating pork, bro, and you got BHIs eating pork, man, what the hell? Thus, faith in the Mashiach came to be the only entire basis of the religion adopted by the pagan Christians, while the Judah Christians who live in Palestine continue to observe the laws. See? That's what we see here. I personally don't, and you know what? I was lucky to find this video. I'm gonna let it play, fam, for a little bit, if you guys don't mind, because I think this is actually very, very important. I don't know. It's like 4 minutes, 5. Maybe I'll pause in between, but it's important. It's late at night, anyways, man. You guys can hitch a ride. See how far this goes. Let's go. Unless I do have to stop by emergencies, and again, I apologize. I started late. I could have been about maybe 20 minutes in already on this, but you know, unfortunately, I had a hard time starting the session today. Let's listen to this. We just saw and by the way, the reason I'm showing this to y'all before I confuse myself is because of the Anglo-Saxons, the Scottish, Irish, the Europeans, the so-called Caucasians, right? You know, who we believe to be the Edomites. right? Okay. Once again, do I claim every single one of them? No, not at all. Can't be that. Can't be done that way. There's tribes, family. There are tribes. Be mindful. Just like we say Canaan. And I mean everybody. Let's continue.
Is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people. I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real, right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another or they're going to rise up and take our stuff, right? Because after a while, these black folks who were enslaved Africans and these quote unquote white folks who were poor Europeans are going to figure out they're all getting played by these rich people, right?
What have we been saying, family? See what I'm saying, family? See what I'm saying? Let's continue.
So ultimately, the rich figure out they got to come up with some way to get somebody in that group on their team. The easiest thing is to get the poor Europeans, right? Because at least they look like you. They sort of share some of the customs and the culture. So they all of a sudden create this thing called whiteness, and they say, now you're part of the club. Now we're going to let you testify in court, enter into contracts, vote, at least if you're a man, own a little bit of land, at least if you're a man, right? And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. No more of that, because you're too good for that. And we're going to take the white men, now called white men, and put them on the slave patrol to keep black people in line. Give them a horse and a gun and a badge and make them feel big and powerful, right? They're still poor. They still don't have anything. They didn't pay the slave patrol well, right? Just exploited them, used them as a buffer between the elite and the other poor folks, particularly poor folks of color. And pretty soon the rebellions that occasionally happened where black and white got together to overthrow the elite, those stopped because the divide and conquer had begun to work. Right? You could turn people against each other by telling those poor white folks, they got to keep these black people in line. And so that divide and conquer gets initiated in the colonies. Rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. Fast forward to the Civil War era. And you have, I'm from the South, right? My people, the elite in my part of the country, right, actually announced that the reason they wanted to break away from the Union and possibly go to war with their brothers and sisters to the North was in order to maintain slavery and white supremacy. They said that at the time. We lie about it now. And we say it had nothing to do with that. But of course, at the time, they didn't have any shame about it, so they just said it openly, right? The vice president of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, said that the cornerstone of the new government was the great truth that the Negro was not the equal of the white man. So that's the reason the Confederacy was formed and existed. But here's the trick. If I'm rich and I want to go to war to protect my ownership in other human beings, my property, but you're poor and you don't own any enslaved people, why the hell would you go fight to protect my stuff? Because I'm a rich person. I'm not going to fight. Rich people don't go to war.
It's true. Rich people never go to war. They're the first ones that talk about war. Like on TV.
We'll just take Greenland. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's who we are. That's what we do.
Seriously, I'll show you real quick. Watch. You know, the freaking nerve of this guy, man. And you know what? I should have downloaded the video properly, but is it here? Did I even record it? Yeah, it's right. I think it's
So talking about, he doesn't like Trump talking about expanding. The United States has always expanded.
See, there he goes right there. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Also talking about, he doesn't like Trump talking about expanding. The United States has always expanded, either by force or we buy things. We bought Alaska from the Russians. We bought half the country from the French. We beat the Mexicans, the Native Americans, the Spanish, the British. That's how we do things here. It's manifest destiny. And if we find out that we need Greenland as a matter of national survival, of course, any president, Republican or Democrat, should get it by any means necessary. And it looks like right now we have our intelligence agencies in Greenland on the ground right now, ensuring that they vote for independence.
See that? Not kidding. Not kidding. Well, let's go back to the scripture at hand that I left behind for a little bit. Psalms 50:16. But to the wicked I say, and I'm using this translation just for now for, I can go back to King James, but I will go back and forth. But to the wicked I say, you don't have the right to mention my laws or claim to keep our agreement. You refused correction and reject my commands. You made friends with every crook you met, and you liked people who break their wedding vows. Now, let's be honest, fam. Who has broken every single treaty or contract that you know what I'm saying? That has been going around in the Americas. Right? Here we clearly see you're willing to break wedding vows. Who created divorce, so to speak? Let me get that for you, bro. I'll see that real quick. Isaiah 25:7. Let me see real quick. Isaiah 25, verse 7. Hear the Lord. I'm saying Isaiah 25:7. Yeah. Are you sure it's Isaiah 25:7? I don't see. And he will destroy the mountains, and the Lord will strip. Okay, let me see. For some reason, Isaiah 25 on your end looks a little different than this one. Isaiah 25:7. Here the Lord will strip away the burial clothes that covers the nations. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering coats all over the people, and the veil that is spread over all the nations. Okay. Oh, then you got Proverbs 20:27. I'll just read it right there. Hell and the destruction are never full. So the eyes of man are never satisfied. Very true. Very, very true. Which is why, let's go back to verse 50. I'm sorry, verse 50. It's chapter 50, verse 16. But to the wicked I say, you don't have the right to mention my laws or claim to keep our agreement. So these Christians that all of a sudden claim that God opened the door for them. When they came in 1492, they did not come with that concept. They killed us. Did the apostles do that to them? Did the Messiah? Did Paul? None of them did that to them. Why did they do that to us? Right? Why?
Bruh.
You know what I'm saying? I got that one for you on Micah too. I'll leave it there because I might use it later. It should be coming up. Then it says you refuse correction and reject my commands. You make friends with every crook you meet. Like, for example, Donald Trump. He's a crook, man. Come on, 34 counts felony. Literally, the guy did get prosecuted. I mean, there's no denying it. And the funny part is he's not even in jail, bro. Like, that's the trip. And you like people who break their wedding vows. You talk only about violence and told nothing but lies. You see this? You talk about violence and told nothing but lies and tell nothing but lies. You sat around gossiping, ruining the reputation of your own relatives. Damn. Hey, for example, this isn't their spirit. They put away their parents like in a freaking, elderly home as soon as they turn 65 or 70. Man, they're tired of them. They're like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? You talk only about violence and told nothing but lies. I like the way it says in King James. Listen to this. It says here, thou giveth thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frame deceit. You see this? When thou saw the thief, verse 18, then thou consentedst with him, and thou hast been partakers with adulterers. Meaning you just enjoy that wickedness, that company. Like, for example, for you to watch people to go through suffering and pain and you enjoy it, that's some evil shit you got. It's evil. It's an evil thing that you have to see people in pain. I don't understand why you would want to see that. These things has thou done, listen to this, and I kept silent. Goes back to Romans 9:21, right? In the power of the Most High, even though he's been patient, endured the pain, seeing like, yeah, man, I gave these fools power. Look what they're doing. These things has thou done, and I kept silent. Thou doubtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. Don't they claim they are Christians and they're representing the Most High and you know, you got the Khazarians believing the same thing, pushing the same thing, correct, right? But I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. So even though you may feel that way, yeah, that's true. Psalms 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. Since the get-go, from the beginning of time. You just know it by their spirit. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. For example, the wicked are estranged from the womb. You know, that's a generational thing too, because as soon as their kids turn 18, bro, they got to go. They have to go. Let's go to, since we're in Psalms, let's go to Psalms 109. Verse 2, it says, for the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of deceitful are open against me. Is this true? For they have spoken against me with the lying tongue. Are they not prosecuting, deporting our brothers and sisters that do not need to be deported? For example, some that do have a right to be here. They compassed me about also with words of hatred, illegal aliens, murderers, terrorists. What they really want to say is Beaner speaks wetbags, right? But they can't say that. Now, recently, they're you know, like this white woman ended up calling this kid with autism or, you know, disability. I don't know if he was autistic, but he happens to be African American, I guess, or a black person or a black kid, whatever, however, you know, whatever title fits well. I don't know. Sometimes people change whatever. Anyways, and she calls him like, you know, the Niger, man. She calls him like Niger and shit, supposedly because he's digging in her bag. I mean, like, you don't have to, you know, he's like, hey, what are you doing, kid? Like, you don't have to call him names like that, bro. Like, that means that you've been waiting to say that. You just had the opportunity to say it. Evil, wicked people. Evil, wicked people. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are open against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. They have compassed me about also with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause. Seriously, why are you guys deporting our people, bro? Like, they're actually working. Yeah, there's some bad people, but come on, man. You know damn well statistically, it's not, it's like a very small percentage. But it doesn't matter, fam. Because these people, I mean, seriously, let's be real, man. How else do we get answers? Christians are not giving us the answers. Ecclesiastes 8:11, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. See that? It's because they're not getting punishment. Like, man, we're good. Let's put the pressure even more. We just saw it now. They're arresting just their own citizens. They thought it was just going to be towards people like, you know, you and I. Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that I shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him. Listen to this. Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged. You see that, family? So, you know, we see what they're doing. And you're like, what the? I remember, brother, you know what I'm talking about, bro. We talked about this, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, brother Jay, I'll say brother Jay, and he was like, man, I'm so upset, bro, because like I'm trying to do things, you know what I mean, as best as I can, praying with my family, my kids, you know, trying to raise a family. He goes, and I see wicked ass people FN, you know what I mean? Take like da-da-da-da-da, and they still just enjoy it. This is what it says here. Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God. You're in a good spot right now for not following through with maybe something you might have wanted to do. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you would. You know what I mean? Just saying. Because we do get tempted. But it shall not be well with the wicked. You see that? Neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before God. This is why the scriptures talk about regeneration. In case you guys don't know. This is not our first rodeo, which is why the scriptures talk about certain things. We'll get to it. Isaiah 26:10. Let favor be showed to the wicked. You see this? Let favor be showed to the wicked. Yet will he not learn righteousness in the land? Yet will he not learn righteousness in the land of upright? Will he deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of our Lord Yahweh? You see what I'm saying? Let favor be showed to the wicked. But even then, right? They get the benefit of taking the book, Freemasonry, breaking it down, teaching all this stuff, Christianity, you know what I mean? Getting all their churches and all that stuff. It's like, let it be favored towards them. But they still will not learn righteousness. They still won't. What did we just see the video earlier? The damn pastor, or whatever he is, the singer dude, pedophiliac, in jail. A Donald Trump supporter. What do you call that? Let's stay in the same book, Isaiah 57:11. It says here, and of whom hast thou been afraid or feared, that thou hast lied and hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy hearts? Have not I held my peace even of old, and thou fearest me not? So let me give you a more of a basic understanding on this. You can see, did you forget about me and become unfaithful because you were more afraid of someone else? Had I been silent so long that you no longer fear me? I don't like the translation like that. You know what I mean? And sometimes I just, I don't know why. Okay, let's read it again. And of whom hast thou been afraid or feared, that thou hast lied and hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy heart? So here's for the people that claim they believe in the Most High, but they walk around their entire life going about lying, stealing, taking advantage over people. So it's like, bro, have you not pondered about the fact that, yeah, man, listen, you are really going against me, and because I'm not saying anything, you think it's okay. You think it's okay, right? Job 31. But now they that are younger that I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with dogs of my flock. Let me see that, man. Let me see what the translation looks like on Proverbs. I think it's definitely different. Proverbs. No, I'm sorry, Proverbs. Job. Let me see Proverbs 4. Job 30. Oh, I think that's why I was thinking. Okay. I think I know why, man. I was thinking Proverbs when you did that. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with dogs of my flock. Well, I'm not sure which way you're talking about, because I know that Esau was the older brother. So maybe you meant something different. But check this out, fam. This is where I think, and I wanted to stay in Isaiah, so let me go back to it. This is where it gets really interesting. Isaiah 42, 42 and 14 says this. Watch this. It says, I have long holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. So we see that, like Romans 9:21, right? Where we started the first verse. Just go to it real quick. Romans 9:21. We started with this, right? It says, is it Romans 9:21, 22? Oh, here it goes. 22. What if God, willing to show his wrath? And to make his power known, endureth with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted for destruction. He's talking about Esau. Okay, this is who he's talking about, specifically Esau and the other nations. Don't forget that. Don't ever forget that. See? Translation, precept right there. I didn't even know those precepts were there, but it totally goes well with it. So let's go to Isaiah 42 now, so you can get a good picture of what we're saying here. Isaiah 42:14 says, I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. You see this right here. So for a while, Most High just said, okay, we're good, man. Good. We're good. I'll let you do what you need to do because guess what? Guess what? I need my children to be punished. You know, I need my children to be punished. So I tell you guys, family, I tell you this right now. And, you know, even if he's kind of winking at your ignorance too, you know what I'm saying? Acts 17:30. Watch what it says here, right? And the times of his ignorance God winked at. It's talking about, like, for example, us. But now commanded all men everywhere to repent. Now, you know, Christians will be like, oh my God, you see, it's for everybody. Well, listen, man, everybody was supposed to keep the commandments because he taught Noah, and Noah taught his children to keep the commandments, right? So he wanted everybody to do it, but a lot of you mofos did not want to, you know, like you wicked, man. So then that's why he made a covenant with Abraham, specifically. Forget about Jacob. Just forget about Jacob. Let's just forget, not even mentioning Jacob. He said Abraham and Isaac. And by the way, there's one thing that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did that are in common, specifically. They all married women of Padam Aram. They didn't marry other women, and they made sure to tell their children to marry their women. Just saying. So even though, you know, the Most High may be winking at your ignorance now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get away with it. And let alone these demons that we're dealing with right now. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to this real quick. And again, I apologize, family, man. I started late and, you know, something got in the way. I don't know. It's just the way it is. I may have to continue this chapter to chapter 3. That's why I put chapter 2 today. Ecclesiastes 5:8 says, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in the providence, marvel not at the matter. See? If thou seest the oppression of the poor, violent perverting of judgment, and justice in the providence, marvel not at the matter. So we see a lot of hatred right now, right? And people are pushing that agenda. Like it's okay to be straight, hateful, racist, like I want you out of here, deportation type of deal, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's not by coincidence. I'm going to introduce something to you. Just made it make sense to you. Check this out.
Their belief. And so, you know, to Jack's point about using some of the and so, you know, to Jack's point about using some of the lie detection technology, particularly for eyewitnesses, not only can we put information in without blowing up your brain, we can put it in and then you can believe it so sincerely that the problem is you can testify to that effect. And in fact, we've seen this in a number of ways. The police were doing lineups where the suggestibility of the information was so strong that people would later identify a person that they'd seen. You know, for example, you show a picture lineup and only one person has on a jacket and nobody else does. And then when you go to the live lineup, because your brain triggered that there was something different about that person, you identify the person who you've just seen, but not realizing that it's because of some difference. And then you've seen them twice, and now you're asked to testify as an eyewitness, and you're so convicted about having seen that person commit the crime, even though that person's utterly innocent, that it becomes a planted memory. And so there's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. And in a different context, one of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well? So.
Wow, man. Like, once again, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and higher be higher than that. So again, it's in our face, quite frankly, man. You know, and they don't give a damn. Look, listen, I'm going to show you this real quick. Let's see, we got about 45 minutes. This is very interesting, and I'm going to try to pause it going back and forth because I don't want to get blocked on this. But check this out. This was South Park, and they did this skit cartoon several years ago, okay? Not recently, but they basically knew what was going to happen. Check this out. I'm going to keep moving it because, again, I don't want to get blocked or anything. Here, let me just do that. Here it goes, right here.
220, we breached the front door.
Hello? Mommy! Mommy! Why is I crying? Who are you people?
We're ICE, ma'am. We had an anonymous tip that illegals were living in this household.
You see that? We had an anonymous tip that illegals were living in his household. Seriously, this is crazy. This is an old cartoon. All right, check it out. That's who they're, supposedly arresting to deport right now, right? Obviously, we see what they're supposedly saying, okay? Yeah, I know. I do that too, man.
Copyright
Like that right
disclaimer.
there.
This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of the United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Maybe that helps, but you know what I'm saying? I'm still going to try to pause it, whatever.
Mom! Dad! This is ridiculous! You can't take our children away from us! No way.
Cartman, little fat effer and shit. He calls on them, right? Let's go.
You guys take the parents, we'll take the kids.
Everyone, please.
Now, this is interesting. This is all brown kids, bro. And it's effed up how you show them, you know what I'm saying? Now, there's a particular type of people right now that are trying to stay in the window of the shit, but you know what I mean? They just stop. I appreciate the help, but damn, man. Just stop.
Take your own piece of aluminum foil. Papel de aluminio, por favor.
All new kids, El Nombre. Line up and announce when your name is read. Martinez.
Aquí.
Aquilar.
Aquí.
See, like, Aki. That's messed up, bro. For real, bro.
I have concepts of a plan.
Puto. Fuck that puto.
Braflosky.
Here.
Braflosky, is that an El Salvadorian name?
No, I'm Jewish.
Oh, you know what? The other day I watched this video and they were actually arguing about this particular topic regarding deporting our people. And the guy that was just, criticizing the people debating, he goes, you know what? He should have asked him, like, what if it was Jewish people getting deported? Would you say something, right? Like, he threw that question out there. I mean, he didn't throw that question. He suggested it. Obviously, it was never thrown out there in national TV because they don't want to do that. Of course not. Let's continue.
What? How did a Jew get in here? I'm just here because some fat, intolerant asshole didn't want me around. Yeah, that's why I'm here too. Yeah, me too.
You see, all the kids started speaking Spanish. I mean, English. Yeah, me too. But you know what? It seems funny, but it ain't funny. You would think it's funny. Like, nah, it won't happen. Well, it is happening. ICE deports 3 U.S. citizen children held incommunicado prior to the deportation. Family disappeared and isolated without legal access. One child with cancer deported without medication, and pregnant mother deported as well. Make that sense.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
2 months ago. What are we doing, man? ICE detained the first family on Tuesday, April 22nd. Let's just show this real quick.
Next week, we are going to be hitting Donald Trump's. Yes, the cruelty is immigrant girl. Other story, my God, when I saw the headline. Take a look. 4-year-old migrant girl, other kids go to court in New York City with no lawyer.
So they don't even get representation. The children, fam. The children, man. Seriously, what kind of people are you? Like, how do you get pleasure from seeing this? How do you do that? You know, that's why when I saw that cartoon with
New attempt.
When I saw the cartoon with South Park, like, that's an old cartoon, bro. And they knew that it was going to happen.
And a family traumatized after armed federal agents busted into their home as they were sleeping and took almost everything they own. Problem is, they were not the people agents were supposed to be looking for.
News 4's Spencer Humphrey is here with their frightening ordeal. Spencer, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, get this. That family just moved here about 2 weeks ago from out of state, and this is how their life in Oklahoma got started. They say they told federal immigration agents they had the wrong people, but those agents kept treating them like criminals, even though they're all U.S. citizens.
Fear.
I did feel at times I felt I was going to die.
So much fear.
I kept praying. I said, God, please let me live through this moment.
Humiliation.
I was a zero. I was nothing.
Pure disbelief.
I just couldn't understand, how is this happening to us?
All just for wanting a fresh start.
You come to Oklahoma and you get treated like this. For what?
This woman, who we're calling Marissa, and her 3 daughters came to Oklahoma from Maryland looking for a slower, more affordable pace of life. They rented this house in a nice, seemingly safe northwest Oklahoma City neighborhood. Her husband planned to join them this past weekend, but any semblance they had of comfort went out the window when 20 men armed to the teeth busted through it Thursday morning.
I don't know who they were. They had guns. It was dark. All the lights were off.
They were federal agents, Marissa says, with the U.S. Marshals, ICE, and the FBI.
And I kept asking them, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What's happening? And they said, we have a warrant for the house.
They ordered Marissa and her daughters outside into the rain before they could even get dressed.
They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between all of them.
The thing is, the suspect names on that search warrant were not Marissa's or anyone in her family's. They were, however, names listed on mail still arriving at the house. Former residents, perhaps.
We just moved here from Maryland. We're citizens. That's what I kept saying. We're citizens.
She says they didn't care.
We weren't criminals. Why were they treating us like criminals? We were here by ourselves. That we didn't do anything.
The agents ripped apart every square inch of the house, taking their phones, laptops, documents, and their life savings in cash as evidence.
Like, I have to feed my children. I'm gonna need gas money. I need to be able to get around. Like, how do you just leave me like this, like an abandoned dog?
And when they left, they told her something.
I know it was a little rough this morning. It was so denigrating. Like, you do all of this to a family, to women, your fellow citizens, and it was a little rough. You have literally traumatized me and my daughters for life.
This family has virtually nothing.
And I said, when are we gonna get our stuff back? He was like, it could be days or it can be months.
Nothing but questions.
What if I would have been armed? What if you're breaking in What am I supposed to think? My initial thought is we were being robbed. My daughter's being female daughter's being kidnapped.
Nothing but likely lifelong trauma.
We have guns pointed at our faces. Can you just reprogram yourself and see us as humans, as women, a little bit of mercy, and care a little bit about your fellow human mate, about your fellow citizen, like fellow resident. We bleed too. We bleed just like anybody else bleeds. We were scared. You could see in our faces that we were terrified.
That's why I keep telling you, family, man. It's like Ecclesiastes 5:8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice and providence, in a providence, marvel not at the matter. Why so? Ecclesiastes 3:15. That which has been is now, and that which is to be had already been, and God requireth that which is past, present, future. This is what really, well, I should say a lot of Christians don't talk about, don't provide an answer for you. When the scriptures mention perpetual hatred, what do you think? It's like one lifetime? No. It's generational hatred. Because Ecclesiastes 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. You see this? Perpetual hatred. That's everlasting, nonstop. I mean, you would think that this wouldn't occur now. They've been here since 1492. Remember, we didn't go to Europe, by the way. We didn't go to Europe. I mean, did we go and supposedly try to immigrate to Europe? Fuck no, we didn't go try to immigrate to Europe, bro. Y'all came over here, man. And you just happened to create some imaginary line and some stuff like that. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I liveth, say the Lord God, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Meaning, like, if you don't get tired of seeing death, bro, y'all kill animals for no freaking reason. You go hunting as a game, you call it, man. You know what I mean? I mean, look, man, we're not the ones being hateful towards people. We're simply trying to understand our space in this world, in this earth. And as you guys know, because in case you don't know, here, let me show you real quick. So you that may be new to this channel, or you don't really watch much. There is one. I've showed you one page already of how when the Spaniards came, there was only 5 things we were only allowed to learn: Padre Nuestro, Ave Maria, El Credo, 10 Mandamientos, El Rosario. Like that was a Christian compendium. Okay. In 1900, meaning like September 7th, right, of 1900, this was written. The Lutheran newsletter. Okay, I've showed you guys this link. And in this particular newsletter, let's read this real quick so you guys can find out. Dr. Francis S. Borden relates the following about the first Bible printed in Mexico and in the Christian Advocate. The printing press came to Mexico in 1539. For in that year, 1539, by the way, there was printed in Mexico in Spanish a brief compendium of the Christian doctrine. That was by Zumarraga, okay, which is the one that implemented the so-called, let me see if I can, here. According to the Spaniards, this is from Mysteries of Mexican Pyramids, page 16. According to the Spaniards, Indians were supposed to know only the Our Father, Ave Maria, Credo, and 10 Commandments. Reading and writing were considered as dangerous as the devil. See that? Now, by Sumarraga. By the way, I did a class on that. Watch the classes. A brief compendium of the Christian doctrine. That's what it was. Under the auspice of the famous Bishop Fray Juan de Zumarraga. I told you. And he was in charge of everything that had to do with printing, not printing, teaching, or not teaching. That was just 81 years before the Mayflower brought the first pilgrims to the Plymouth Bay. From 1539 to 1810, when the immortal Hidalgo raised the cry of Mexican independence, or during the 271 years of Spanish rule or misrule in Mexico, Spain, which was a Catholic, monarchy, not only did not give Mexico a Bible, but sternly prohibited the publication of any part of the sacred scriptures in the language of the Mexican people. The prohibition, this is September 7th, remember, of 1900, 1900, 125 years ago. The prohibition is still in force with regards to the printing of the Bible in any one of the 52 different languages and dialects spoken in Mexico today. You see this? The first edition of the Bible in Mexico was printed in Spanish in Mexico City in 1538 through 1533. So that was 70 years the first time that a Bible was printed in Spanish and in Latin in Mexico. But even in 1900, we still were not allowed to read these books. It appeared, and by the way, about only 5% of the people in Mexico were literate, okay? The majority were not. If you do know a history about Pancho Villa, he was really the reason why they started pushing for more education everywhere, which is why the improvement of reading became. Y'all need to know your history. It appeared in 25 volumes with an atlas and cost over $200, so that it still remained prohibited book to the great majority of the people. You see this? A magnificent copy of this edition is before me as I write. So I say that Spain never allowed Mexico, the site of the world of God, in all the centuries of her dominion. Of course, the Latin Bible could have been had. You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? Now, take a look at this. I find it so interesting.
Platforms like Gab have no place in Texas and certainly do not represent Texas values. What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Goldman that fights anti-Semitism in Texas. Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas and certainly do not represent Texas values. What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Goldman that fights anti-Semitism in Texas.
Isn't he the same governor that placed all those chains with sharp objects on the corners of them? Didn't he do that? Right? He did that. This is why this video matters now more than ever. You see right there, look at them flags, bro. Why are we playing jokes? Remember this video?
Que es un criminal sionista, lo digo abiertamente, él apoyó a Trump y es íntimo de Netanyahu. Entonces, cuando llegó Netanyahu a Dallas, Texas, que había un grupo de judíos o israelíes, no sé cómo se diga ya eso, le decían, oye, ¿por qué persigues tanto a los palestinos? Y les dice, los palestinos son para nosotros los israelíes lo que los mexicanos son para ustedes en Estados Unidos. Entonces, yo veo la palestinización de los mexicanos en Estados Unidos.
Con todos los componentes.
¿Cómo?
Con todos los componentes, porque primero Estados Unidos le roba el territorio a México, después le termina de construir un muro, después los ataques xenófobos y racistas por un componente étnico y religioso también. ¿Qué falta?
Bueno, falta el último capítulo. Vamos a empezar a ver, hay que tenerlo en el escenario, una gran discriminación sobre los mexicanos. Eso a mí me queda muy claro. Y Estados Unidos, porque aquí la pureza blanca del WASP, el racismo, supremacismo, es igual que la pureza inventada de los nuevos judíos del siglo XXI, que ni son semitas. Lo digo con responsabilidad. Hoy uno llega a Tel Aviv y el 25% habla ruso. Son de origen házaro. Los házaros, lo digo también con definiciones puntuales, son mongoles centroasiáticos, no son semitas. En Estados Unidos, que es un criminal.
See, so the way that they see them is the same way they see us, which is why this is important to see. Look at them flags, right? And this is what he's talking about. Eastern European immigrants who's terrorized Palestine. Benjamin Netanyahu, we know that's not his real name. Ariel Sharon, right? Ehud Barak. No, I'm sorry. Yes, that's their current names. But we saw a video once and actually gave us a good like they changed their names from certain things to this. It says here Polish Ariel Sharon, it's Polish, Hungarian, Polish, Russian, Polish, Lithuanian, Belarusian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, or Belarusian, basically, and Polish. You see what I'm saying? Right? Let's not kid ourselves here. It's blatantly obvious. Why are we playing games with each other? Or you want to cover, kind of like we say in Spanish, quieres tapar el sol con un dedo. Can't do that. Job chapter 15, verse 28. It says, and he dwelleth in desolate cities, and houses which no man inhabited, which are ready to become heaps. He shall not be rich, neither shall his his substance continue. Neither shall he prolong the perfection thereof upon the earth, so-called perfection, which they obviously try to claim is to be science. He shall not depart out of the darkness. The flame shall dry up in his branches, and by the breath of his mouth shall he go away. Let not him that is deceived trust in vanity. See that? For vanity shall be his recompense. And I think we all understand the type of vanity that we are technically kind of that we live around. Like, for example, who the fuck, excuse my language, but who the fuck wants to say that, it's best to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America? Like, what the? How does that benefit your people? I mean, let's just be real. How the hell does that even benefit your people? You change the name, so freaking what? Huh? Does it increase the pay? Does it lower tariffs, taxes? You know what I mean? Do people could just stop paying taxes now? Can you stop taxing everything? Would that help? Let not him that is deceived trust in vanity. Let me, play this hoo-ha-ha game. And you know what? This is an important point. Trust in vanity, for vanity shall be his recompense. It shall be accomplished before his time. His branch shall not be green. He shall shake off his unripe grapes as the vine, and shall cast off his flowers as an olive. Well, the congregation of the hypocrite shall be desolate, and the fire shall consume the tabernacle of bribery. So we know that every nation has a particular type of tabernacle, a particular type of approach. Like, for the most part, we all conduct ourselves a certain way. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. Some people say it's cultural. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Because I've had a lot of conversations, and it's just, you brothers and sisters know that I've spoken to. You understand what I'm talking about. Now, in this regard, in such as says, let him not that is deceived trust in vanity. Do you know why that's so important? Yeah, I like that scripture right there, man. Joel 2:3-2. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Now, I'm going to show you this, man, because again, we got a little bit of time. I'm going to show you this because this is interesting. You see, all it takes is a deceitful individual, a conniving demon.
How do you excite?
Well, someone that literally plans to manipulate your mind. It's like they wake up in the morning and go to sleep thinking, how can they get one over you? Now, I've done several classes on this topic of manipulation, and I think this is a good point right now. Hopefully, they don't block me. Okay? Wait, let me see. As a matter of fact, before I have to read that, His Historical Majesty, fair use is a freaking plague. Learn how to forgive credit to the creditor. You non-rego as godly animals. Oh, okay, so you're talking shit. I see what you're saying. Yeah, just another random idiot. Continue with your walk, my wicked spiritual friend. Here, I got one for you. People like you. If I misunderstood your message, my bad, but you know what? It's very clear what you are. Wisdom of Solomon 2:5, for our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning. For it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. That's what you believe in. That's what it is. Science. Stay with your science. Nobody invited you here. Let's continue.
How do you make them feel as one with you?
I don't know how.
Join them first, Mr.
How do you make them feel at first? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you relate to people? Check it out.
Join them?
Yes. When you speak to them as if you were a member of the mob. Speak to them in their language, on their level.
MAGA all day, every day, family. Right? Mexicans are murderers, they're terrorists, they're drug dealers, you know what I'm saying? That's what they've been saying since Donald Trump stepped to the line. Let's continue.
Make their hate your hate. If they are poor, talk to them of poverty.
Nah, bro, it doesn't work. And that what Jesus teaches. No, matter of fact, it doesn't work. And see, this is kind of why I was ignoring your question. I'll ask you. Let's put it this way. You have IOCK, Israelite Only Camp Killer. Okay, why don't you do videos on you debating white nationalists? Right? You're trying to defend this nation of people or their doctrine. This is not our doctrine, man. They brought this shit from 1492. Do you not know the history? Do you want to believe that? By all means, continue to believe that. You ain't killing nobody, man. You're lost in the sauce as well. Here, matter of fact, here's what I'm going to do. Because I was reading this earlier. So before we go into that video, because we're almost going to be done. I'm only doing 2 hours. I promised my wife. Okay? So I got a question for you Christmas Christians. As if you're about the scriptures, then you need to explain to me, before you post anything else, IOCK, I'm sure you've never read Numbers 31. You probably never have. Here in this particular chapter, it talks about the slaughter of Midians, okay? And in this particular chapter, it's also talking about the tributes, the spoils of war. Now, behold what it's about to be said. And I'm going to tell you guys something. They say that the Meshiachas were sacrificing their people. I'm sorry, not their people. They were sacrificing to their God, supposedly, right? The enemies that they captured. Supposedly. In this chapter here, the Most High, or the Spirit talking in this chapter, is asking for the same thing. Let's go real quick. Christmas Christians, please explain this to me. Numbers 31:17, since you say it's all about love. No, that's BS, man. That shit does not give nobody answers. Love, what I mean, if you really understand the word of love, how do you even determine love? By actions, not by feelings. You could tell your wife that you love her, you could still be cheating behind her back. Numbers 31:17. So I ask you, Christmas Christians, not just you, IOCK, every single one of you. Numbers 31:17 says, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that had not known men by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days, whereso hath killed any person, and wherefore hast thou touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Meaning, like, you went to war, you had blood on you, clean yourselves, okay? All right, now let's go real quick. The divisions of booty. It says here, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the sum of the prey that was taken, both of man and of beast, and thou and Eleazar the priest, and the chief fathers of the congregation, and divide the prey in 2 parts, between them that took the war upon them who went out to battle, and between all the congregation. Now, check this out. And Levi a tribute unto the Lord of the men of war, which went out to battle. 1 soul of 500, both of the persons, and of the beeves, and of the asses, and of the sheep. Here he is clearly saying, yo, listen, give some of these captured unto the Levites. Let's continue. Take it of their half, and give it unto Eleazar the priest for an heave offering to the Lord. A lot of you that supposedly believe in this book are going to have to really, 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 really harness right now your roots, because this is going to scare the shit out of you if you're not rooted well. Let's continue. And the children of Israel have, thou shalt take 1 portion of the 50 of the persons of the beeves, and of the asses, and of the flocks, and of the manner of the beasts, and give them unto the Levites, which keep the charge of the tabernacle of the Lord. You see this? We're not done yet. Now it says here, verse 33. Let's go. And 12,000 beeves. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me go to verse 31. And Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. And the booty, being the rest of the prey which the men of war had caught, was 600,000, 7,000, and 5,000 sheep. Excuse me. 12,000 beeves. 1,000 asses. And 32,000 persons in all, of women that had not known man by lying with him. And the half which the portion of them went out to war was in number of 300,000 and 30,000 and 500 sheep. And the Lord's tribute of the sheep was 603 scores. So meaning what? That you had to give of this booty to the Lord through the Levites to sacrifice. Correct? Don't lie to me now. Don't run from this scripture, Christians, because I really want to know what you believe in this. And the beeves were 36,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 12. Tribute meaning what? Sacrifice to him. You got to slay that animal to the Most High. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Just let him sit there? No, that's the tribute to him. And the persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons.
That's gotta hurt.
Not saying right there that he's supposed to burn 32 people to the Most High. IOCK. Are you going to say now that the Old Testament is done away with? So, that's old shit, so-called? The scriptures talk about the whole volume of the book. Is this the God that you follow? Out of the 16,000 virgins, 32 were supposed to be burned. And Moses gave the tribute, which was the Lord's heave offering unto Eleazar the priest, and the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. There we go. Look, you see this? John 3:16. Oh my dear Jesus.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Oh my God. Oh, this is great. This is, what do you mean he never wanted it that way? What did he not want? This is regarding the killing of the Midians. Like, what are you talking about? He was going into what do you call it? He was going into Canaan. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on, brother? Like, this is the thing about Christianity, man. Like, you have no answers for that. If you believe in the Most High, that means that the Most High that you believe in requires sacrifice. Right. That verse is not what you have been indoctrinated to believe. Well, I think maybe you might have typed it incorrectly. He was indoctrinated to believe that verse in the way that he translates it. You get what I'm saying? Look, the evils that happen in the Old Testament is done away with Christ. I would love to. No, we're not going to speak because it's first of all, I thought about this and I didn't have a problem talking to you, but I already talked to you once and now you want to kind of have a rebound and shit. Nah, I'm sorry, bro. People like individuals that all of a sudden disappear for a couple months because supposedly they want to gather their thoughts. I don't trust people like that. That means that you're not well in the mind. Know the spirit. So all of a sudden now you want to have a so-called conversation. You're being peaceful, but in reality, you're not being peaceful. You're being peaceful just to supposedly have your say-so. That's as far as that friendship goes. You see, evil spirits are cunning and conniving. We're just talking about this right now. What I always say is this. Like, for example, you didn't give me no verses other than John 3:16. And this is not talking about the slaughter of, like, matter of fact, the Most High slaughtered through the flood, slaughtered Canaan, Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm sorry. And it's going to do it again. And it's like you just want to ignore the fact that he will do it again. And then I go, well, listen, it says right there that this spirit that we so-called believe in wants 32 virgin women to be burned at the stake. And yet you Christmas Christians that came in 1492 were questioning the Meshiachas when they were burning their enemies at the fire to offer to their gods. I don't believe none of the stuff you guys tell us anymore. You know what I mean? Well, you know, regardless of, you don't got to get all personal about that, bro. It's just like, it wasn't even about that, man. Like, I can tell that you just bounce. And that was it. So, you know, you had your chance. And I just gave you one more chance right now. And what do? You give us John 3:16, bro. Like, for real. Like, that's what you just said. What is it at here? You gave us, hold on, what is it at here? Right here. No, not that one. Where is it? You posted it. Did you take it off? Oh, there it goes. John 3:16. That's what you said. God never wanted it that way. That's why John 3:16. And here, let's go to John 3:16. Since you're on it. It's been a long time since I've actually broke that down. I mean, you got to understand who he's talking to here, first of all right? He's talking to a Pharisee, but he's talking to him in secret. He doesn't want Nicodemus, his name. He doesn't want the other Pharisees to know that he does believe in him. They believe that what he's saying, right? He doesn't want them to catch him, okay? Then he says here, as he's continuing, the Mashiach answered and said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. This is a spiritual conversation that the Messiah is talking about, but Nicodemus is still not there. And Nicodemus, he said unto him, how can a man be born again when he's old? And he entered the second time in mother's womb, be born. The Mashiach answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again of water and of spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Now, some of you guys that don't understand the scriptures are going to be very fooled by this. First of all, most people want to go to John 3:16 and answer everything. No, it starts right here. Be born of water and of the spirit. Remember, we talked about this, family. We deal with the flesh, correct? The flesh profited nothing, correct? John 6:63, right? Here in John 3:5, he says, only through the water and the spirit. Now, why? Because you have to cleanse your mind first. Remember Hosea 10? I've read it a lot to you, brothers and sisters. Hosea 10 talks about breaking ground You know, and getting rid of all that dry ground, getting rid of all the clay, because, you know, reap in mercy, because it's about to rain righteousness. So that's why he's talking about refreshing, like cleansing your mind first in order to strengthen your spirit. Because there's a mind, spirit, and the flesh. If you don't know what you're thinking, the flesh will overcome your mind and weakens your spirit. But when you're mindful of what you're going through, you can harness your spirit, and that way the flesh attacks you less. That's why it says born of water and of spirit. Not meaning being born again like one man, little child. No. And not only that, remember, keep this in mind, family. Let's not be stupid. When you think about who you are, that 5-year-old child is still in you. Man or woman, that 5-year-old baby child is still in you. It never left. And that's why the Meshiach was talking about. If you don't be born again to the beginning of that time, to not hate or you know what I mean, to love your brethren, to not be dealing with sin, to not be going around sleeping around, eating pork, celebrating things you're not supposed to, and assuming that's the right thing. Then it says, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Now here it talks about water because it takes the cleansing of the mind. You can know Ephesians, I believe, 5:26 or 4, something like that. And of the spirit. And by the way, in case you don't know, Wisdom of Solomon is very clear in regards to what it takes to battle. Because here we see it right here, Wisdom of Solomon 9:13. It says, for what man is he that cannot know the counsel of God? Or who can think what the will of the Lord is? For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable. See? Thoughts. And our devices are but uncertain. For the corruptible body, press it down the soul. You see, the flesh. And the earthly tabernacle, meaning the flesh, weighs down the mind that muse it upon many things. So the flesh understands that the mind is just like, kind of like, let's say, a computer program, so to speak. And it's like a virus. It's like a virus in a computer program. It'll make it do other things it's not supposed to do because it knows that the mind is just a simple structure. But because it needs to corrupt the spirit. The ward is this flesh, making sure that the spirit is in pain. This is why it says those things. John 3:16 doesn't start at 16. It starts way at top. If you don't understand what this man is actually saying, then you're going to be lost as a sauce. And then it says, verse 6, John 3:5, then the Messiah answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again of water and of spirit. Why? The mind and the soul. The mind and the soul. You want to know how I can even strengthen that? I can even strengthen that with more. Watch this real quick. Watch this real quick. I'm going to show you how I can even strengthen that verse to make sure that you guys understand. Because it's not me making it up. It's not me making it up. I'm not here to make stuff up. I don't do that. The Most High did not awaken me for that stuff. 2nd Ezra chapter 14, verse 38. And the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Ezra, open thy mouth and drink that I give to thee to drink. Then I opened my mouth. Now this is Ezra going through like a vision, so to speak, right? An experience. Then I opened my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full as if it were with water. But the color of it was like fire, right? And I took it and drank it. And when I had drunk of it, my heart, meaning my mind, uttered understanding, and wisdom grew my breast. You see, the mind and the spirit. The spirit is like in your chest. You can sense it, right? Kind of like the heart section, whatever. I don't know. Everybody feels it different, but I can sense it right here. For my spirit, this is how he clarifies it, strengthen my memory, which is why when you go to John 3, right? John 3:5, he says, verily, 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 I say unto thee, except a man be born again of water and spirit, meaning cleanse your mind and strengthen your memory. Know the ways that I taught you from the get-go. He cannot enter into the kingdom of God because your spirit would know. For that which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit. That's why when you go to John 6:63, it talks about that. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. See, it feeds the spirit and it cleanses the mind. That's what it's supposed to be. So now Nicodemus is pretty much going into his whole thing. So now let's continue. Let's go to verse, let's say, 3 to 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Now, if this was to everybody, why would he be specific? And whosoever believeth on him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Now, if I'm having a conversation with somebody in person, and I say whosoever believes, and he knows that, he's a Pharisee of the Jews, I'm sure him and I would understand that I'm not talking about everything outside of our world. We're talking about our people. For God so loved the world. Whose world? His world. His world. What is it? Isaiah 45, I think? It's been a long time. Or 47? Let's see. Let's see there. 45 or 47. I can't even remember. Let me see. It's such a cheesy topic, to be honest. It's old news, man. I don't know why you guys still believe in that stuff. It baffles me. Honestly, it really does baffle me. Isaiah 45:17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. But it's even beyond that. It's even beyond that. If you really think about this, Romans 9:7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. See, Christians always ignore that stuff. See? Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. This is why in Galatians 23, and 24 says this. But before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Why, fam? Because if you guys remember, I'll just kind of give you a little quick introductory of that. Abraham's covenant. Genesis 17. Abraham was not circumcised in 8 days. He was an idolater with his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather and his great-great-grandfather and his great-great-great-great-grandfather and his great-great-great-great-grandfather. Almost like 5 generations of idolatry. This is why Abraham's always been mentioned. But he still said through Isaac. Nobody else. Nobody else. Through Isaac. Not everybody. I mean, I don't understand what is the problem. Because look, Sirach 44:17 says, Noah was made perfect and righteous. Okay? If the Most High wanted to give the open door to everyone, why didn't he just stop at Noah? Because Noah was righteous. And in the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came. An everlasting covenant was made with him, with Noah, that all flesh should not perish perish no more by the flood. So he made a covenant with Noah. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like him, who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established a covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. Meaning what? Proved. And he was proved, meaning he was faithful first, and then he circumcised. If he wanted to open the door to everybody, why didn't he just stop right here? Hey, Dan Boat, I got you, brother, but you know what? This guy says the Old Testament is done away with. Remember, he said that. He said it somewhere earlier. He said, hold on. He said, los blancos hacen lo mismo, no dejen que la gente hable, no están siendo justos. You're not invited to the party, bro. You're just here like typing away. What makes you think just because you're saying some shit, all of a sudden I'm going to let you on, man? You tripping. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm here. You said no. I didn't say this Friday, man. I said once I'm done with this topic, I will chat it up with you next Friday. But since you're like in a rush and you didn't listen, because if you go back to the message, I said the following Friday, I wouldn't be this way. But the fact that you're like, dude, you're like thirsty and shit, bro. Like, I know now that you have a desperate spirit. There's no need for that. You know what I'm saying? He said right here, the evils that happened in the Old Testament is done away with Christ. You see what I'm saying? Noah was found perfect and righteous. If he wanted to open the doors to everybody, he should have just stopped right there, but he didn't. He said Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, in case you guys don't forget, this is why that illusion that you have, and we're almost done, fam. Sorry, because again, I promised my wife I wasn't going to be long, so I'm like literally going to go like 10 more minutes, and that's it. And again, I'm not saying I'm subscribing to Jasher or everything 100%, but I just find it so interesting that the way he explains it. Jasher 28:20, and Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. I think that's how you say it, meaning that he would trick them. See that? He was designing, deceitful, and went after the minds of men. Right? Check this out.
If they are afraid, talk to them of their fears. And if they are angry, Mr. Verma, if they are angry, give them objects for their anger. But most of all, the thing that is most of the essence, Mr. Verma, is that you make this mob an extension of yourself.
That's literally what has occurred with the MAGA movement. This is exactly what's been occurring, bro. Like, he's talking like them. Beaners, spicks, wetbags, the N-words on people, you know what I'm saying? Like, just hateful. Because, listen, this ain't a channel of hate. This is a channel of facts. We teach facts so then you don't develop hate. You can get angry, but don't be hateful. Let's continue.
Say to them things like, they call us hate mongers. They say we're prejudiced. They say we're biased. They say we hate minorities. Minorities. Understand the term, neighbors. Minorities. Should I tell you who are the minorities? Should I tell you? We are the minorities.
See exactly what it's talking about. I'm telling you, man. That's why Ephesians 6:12 talks about not wrestling with anything but powers above ourselves. Man, I hate to really finish it too early, fam. I will continue chapter 3. I promise. Okay, I will continue chapter 3. We'll end it with a couple more, verses, and then that's it. I promise. All right. That says Ephesians chapter 6, right? Ephesians. Let me not forget, man. 6:12. Check this out. It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." See what I mean? A conniving, deceitful nation of people. Look, listen, look, they say it themselves. Check it out.
This administration is also fighting to get critical race theory out of our school districts. Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous, communist, woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues. The president has also fought to return the Department of Justice to its core mission of protecting public safety and locking up violent criminals, instead of using the Department of Justice to target conservatives, to target Christians, to target people of faith. The last administration cruelly and shamefully used the power of the Justice Department to go after law-abiding Americans, in particular Trump supporters, conservatives, and Christians. That persecution has ended. The Department of Justice and the FBI are back in the business of going after bad guys, of going after gangs, of going after criminals, and keeping Americans safe. Let me just conclude before taking questions by noting that when you look at the sweep of the first 100 days, every single crisis that has afflicted America for years, sometimes decades, sometimes generations, this president has fought head on. He has taken on every entrenched power structure and system all across this government, this swamp, this town. That includes, of course, the DOGE efforts to slash corrupt, wasteful government spending, graft, and corruption, and to stop billions of taxpayer dollars from going to radical left NGOs. These are left-wing nonprofits that are used to advance illegal immigration, to advance open borders, to advance gender ideology, and to advance all of this insanity that has been turning our country in the wrong direction for so many years. President Trump took head on the trade crisis afflicting this country with the destruction of our manufacturing and industrial base, the shameful betrayal of the American worker by Joe Biden and the globalists that sent all of our supply chains overseas. He took head on the catastrophe of mass, unlimited illegal immigration that was turning us into a failed third world state, and achieved the lowest level of illegal immigration in recorded history without even a close second.
That's why I played that video earlier about how the Khazars feel towards us. They feel towards us like how they feel towards the Palestinians. You know what I'm saying? And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and unveiled them, I believe that's how you say it. Meaning that wanted to learn how they thought in order to trick them. There's only certain people that do certain things, family. I mean, we don't do certain things, but some people do certain things.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is crazy.
I washed my hands. Yeah. Okay. I know you probably heard me.
That's the good meat.
I know it is.
Something's not right. Something is not right. I get it. Maybe, you want it a little over easy or some shit. That's too easy, bro. The hell? Let's continue.
But the U.S. doesn't export anything. Yeah, we do, buddy. And you're not going to believe what it is. In fact, we are the world's largest exporter of something absolutely crucial. And again, it's mind-blowing and somewhat terrifying when you figure out what it actually is. You want to guess? No, not that. Human blood. Yup. We export 70% of the world's human blood for plasma donations. Why? Because in the US, it can be legally compensated, and just done for that matter. Some of my European friends might know it's not so easy to do that in Europe. Their continent actually outlaws donating plasma for profit. The US? No. It's actually 2% of our exports, closer to 2.7%, and it accounts for over $20 billion a year. Well over. So, consider what's going on in our economy when our big export, one of our most crucial exports really, is running through your veins as you watch this video. But the U.S. doesn't export.
That, my friends, is the end. Good to have you guys here. I will go chapter 3. I don't know about tomorrow, more likely next week. And yeah, we'll see what's up. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to answer this guy because it's like, again, I gave you Numbers 31. Why don't you answer that? You gave us John 3:16. That's all you guys run to, bro. I'm not going to give you no chance when that's all you gave me. You didn't even go to nothing else but John 3:16. That just shows how typical Christian you are. And that shit is disgusting. You're still not washed away from that shit. I mean, come on, man. They even told you they were going to pick an American pope through their movies, bro. Like there's a series called Holy Popes. I was watching that the other day and I said, they're going to choose an American pope. Watch, you'll see. Man, let the Most High strike me from line. And guess what? They did. Shoot. I wish I can continue, but I can't, so I won't. Anyways, we'll finish with that. And again, Esau, deceitful, they're not conniving. And quite frankly, who is studying these people? Like, who studies people in order to manipulate you? You know what I'm saying? Like, who does that? Who does that? And see, this is why I'm not. Because I specifically told you next week. I said respectfully. You posted on the last class. I said not this week, next week. But what do? You show up and you're like, hey, drop the link. So you're either drinking or I don't know, man. You just lost your memory, or you're just not an adult that doesn't understand how to be patient. Because patience is a very important virtue to have. You and I could have had a dialogue next week. But because of your thirsty ass, I ain't giving you no fucking time, man. I literally talk to you like a man, and you can't even treat me like one. Show up to this fucking channel asking me to drop the fucking link when I told you next week. Men talk this way to each other, man. Apparently, you're not one, so I don't need to deal with you. Have a good night, bro. You guys have a good time. Appreciate you being here, man. It actually could have been good. Could have been good. We could have had a maybe decent dialogue. You know what I mean? But like, todo apurado, man. Todo apurado, güey. Todo apurado, bro. Like, man, it's a sad day. It's a sad day in the hood, homies. I'm just kidding. Yeah, have a good night. See you next week.
En la Plaza de Reyes, Black 50, soplón. Yeah. ¿Qué vas a saber? ¿Qué vas a saber tú? Oye, chibolito, faltomé. Pulpín de los pulpines, batería de Rapunzel, de rapeos, de raptos, de lagartos en cuartel. Cualquier la pega de cruel con un viejo coronel. Soy flujo, se me antojó dormirme en el laurel. Eleve mi level con un label y un Faber-Castell. Ya un papel, lo empape con sangre de todo aquel que se jura Nobel y no ve mis trenes en la riel. What's so man? ¿Por qué no sacan la tablet? Juro por mis abuelos que no te hablo por las powers. Soy chinchado neto, búscame por pico sour y te voy a meter al centro loco como Beckenbauer. Escúchame atento mi pro, que estamos rompiéndole en pro. El negro de Plaza de Reyes como siempre rompe de este micrófono. Que quiere meterle como yo pero no puede meterle taco pro. Si te pensaba que solo era un gallo, déjame decirle que se equivocó. Real motherfucker feeling on the street. Es el Black Sheep, Black Sea Metal de Plaza de Kings. Motherfucker, soplum.
Nero Luis, man, desempeño en la victoria para que sepa. Incas Mo, Money Gang Gang, yeah, yeah, Yo también he llorado, gente. También me han desplazado por mi rasgo afrodescendiente. Sí, un perro no habla pero siente. Cuento historias callejeras pa' barrios de delincuentes. Y soy un perro que te ladra, que te muerde y que te huele, nene. Soy más que Lele, ustedes para mí son pelele. Con mi jauría todo el día en busca de los cheles. Tengo un perro en fiscalía que nos mueve los papeles. Y otro en la comisaría para evitar el susto. Muchas veces me han llevado por solo como luzco. Perdón, madre mía, si yo le causé un disgusto. Pero en esta vía yo crecí rodeado de perros chuscos. Yo sé que me quieren ganar, yo sé que me quieren tumbar y no pasará porque soy de verdad. Está súper refina la Dodo Style, metido en latina aprendiendo un quizá. Yo tengo el style, no mido la raza del perro, yo mido por la lealtad y yo soy leal. Yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad. Yeah. Saliste se peña aquí con una seña, te tiran para atrás. Yeah. La calle limeña aquí nadie la teña, ya nada es igual. Yeah. Tiene que respetar, yeah. Tiene que respetar. Yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad. Yeah. Saliste se peña aquí con una seña, te tiran para atrás. Yeah. La calle limeña aquí nada le doy, ya nada es igual. Yeah. Tienes que respetar, yeah. Si yo soy tu papá, yeah, yeah, yeah. Cinca's mob, negro. Yeah, Cinca's mob, nigga. Yeah, Nero Luigi, man. Incas mob, yeah. It's Money Gang, 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 yeah. Hey, yo. Yango en la maldita casa. Me llaman pa' que les dé al menos una vez al mes. Se metieron al lago y olvidaron que era el mes. For everybody bless. La fama es una puta, me está llamando a las 3. Dile que llame después.
de las 16 y 25. Volví de la infancia de Abraham Lincoln, con fuerza ya inco, luchando para salir del rincón. Letra callejera en CD brinco, under del under. Puede que tu viejo te lo mande, sale de vez en cuando como el cóndor por los Andes. Mi cuerpo no es de madera como Dandy. Antes que me branden, yo seré el ola que los expande. Aunque esto me pique en la madera, no sirven ni para romper el ticket de un evento afuera. Loco por la carrera, desafían la gravedad. Yo espero tras la barrera y llego con la novedad. Niña, tú solo espera que ya encontré la manera. He visto bastante por querer lograrlo saltando escalones dentro de la escalera. La vida me puso al depósito, yo soy de púlpito para que el mundo conociera. Modesta parte mejor intérprete que ha parido esta cordillera. Sin luz afuera, que el espectáculo es dentro, la calle es mi templo, tiembla el pavimento, cuando yo me concentro, mis disparos son temas, la calle un poema, se siente desde cuando entro, y a toditos estos drogaditos que creen que rapean, los regreso al centro de mi balcón. Yo he visto el clon del clon en la misma gestión, pero a la malla no llega el balón, y para esta pantalla no soy el patrón, yo ya me sé la cuestión, y doy fe por cada renglón, consciente de la operación del final de Mbappé con la edad de bufón. Veían una maldita casa, Plaza de Reyes, papá, el héroe Luigi, Black Mental, hip hop peruano. Rasgo la maldita base. Yao.
Comentando, ¿qué dicen? Sí, ¿qué cuentan? Ya, escúchame. Ya. Los medios cuentan que si hay libertad de prensa, la mordaza es cosa escasa y todos dicen lo que piensan. Y esa sutil es impresa y repetida diariamente tiene contenta tu mente con yo soy combate y fiesta. Presta el control, Tarantino no es tan gore como los crímenes de amor que a toda hora se nos muestra. Pues tal vez la estrategia impuesta, pánico en el público y manejarás el cuestapal. Político en vez de patrullas se vende camilla para un hospital, como si esa mierda de tombo no diera seguridad. No será casualidad que el otro dueño del canal sea el otro sobrino peruano de un primo hermano pariente papá. Que esa nostalgia no es noticia, su codicia se evidencia. Propicia violencia y plástico, panémicas belleza. Fútbol, patriotismo falso, culos, vasos de cerveza. Pele cáncer pa' tu mesa y el domingo en misa pesa. Sobre su cabeza pesa el atraso mental del pueblo. Oposición vendió trasero, dictador, grupo Romero. Pero se confundieron acá, la palabra es cruda. Autoeducación en camino se afloja la lucha a través de cultura. Es como genera de uno, tal vez otro loco se suma. Ya saben, cortina de humo que explota la mina que mata la cuna. Primo, vengo que trata la friuna, no una pura canción de aventura. Así no censura, emite basura, no le conviene que sepa verdura. Hay extorsiones, violaciones, robo, llanto y más. Con tanto muerto el morbo están alimentando, ves no hay paz. Solo un odio contenido en milis para que vivan en la fantasía, algún día cambiará. Hay extorsiones, robo, violaciones, llanto y más. Con tanto muerto el morbo están alimentando, ves no hay paz. Solo un odio contenido en milis para que vivan en la fantasía, algún día cambiará.
Sensacionalismo, amigo eterno de la prensa, el mismo que forjó al humano sumiso,
callado y muestra.
En el noticiero, en el artículo del diario, la vida de una bebé que poco invierte.
Al vecindario
sirven como fieles feligreses, a oscuro intereses, mienten todo el día, crían, crean
solo estupideces.
La historia afirma, indica que siempre negaron información alternativa que
todo pueblo merece.
A cada instante pareciera su labor asesinar una memoria colectiva que hace una nación, con una prensa cómplice que juega con humor, desconociendo ese dolor
que nos dejó ese dictador.
Cortina de humo es su mejor función, para apartarte de la fuente harán de todo.
Pues miró
hoy como venderte el culo de Sharon Stone, cagándose en tu derecho
a la objetiva información.
El narco, el almirante, el presidente, el congresista, algún ministro, algún legado, de seguro es el patrón de ese periódico morboso y amarillo que al leerlo 2 minutos te vuelve
en un show.
Los medios son culpables, responsables de toda propaganda basura que te ofrece la TV. Pues será mejor que se autoeduque, pues my friend, porque el comercio de los medios te carcome hasta las 100.
Hay violaciones, extorsiones, robo, llanto y más. Con tanto muerto el morbo están alimentando, ves no hay paz. Solo un odio contenido en bilis para que vivan en la fantasía, algún día cambiará. Hay extorsiones, violaciones, robo, llanto y más. Con tanto muerto el morbo están alimentando, ves no hay paz. Solo un odio contenido en bilis para que vivan en la fantasía, algún día cambiará. Que algún día cambiará. Que algún día cambiará.
CPF.
Y Cal, hijo
Abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.